What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the City Life Project YouTube channel for yet another RIZIN picks, preview, and predictions video here on the channel. If you like this content, smash that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into it. 4 prelims on this card, which a lot of people are complaining is pretty thin. By the way, I know this isn't live. I know we don't have our guests, Jay Wolf, and the rest of the casting crew from the We Are RIZIN podcast. Busy week for me. Didn't have enough time to just plan and schedule a stream with everybody, but I did have a couple hours to throw this together, so we are going to speed run through it, all right? Timestamps in the description as well. 4 prelims, 3 kickboxing fights, 1 MMA fight. Let's just fire through the kickboxing fights quickly. We have Shota versus Tomoya Sudo. I honestly couldn't find much footage on either of these guys. Sudo and a little bit of Shota just through their Instagrams. I'm going with Tomoya Sudo in this one. He's fought better competition. He's fought in some better leagues. But again, could only really find some of his footage on his Instagram account. Next, we have Juna Koda versus Hinata Kintano. I'm going with Juna Koda in this one. Not great, has lost a lot of fights, but I actually watched her fight against other fighters against actual competition. The only thing I could find of Kintano was training footage. I think she's 17 years of age as well. And one of the fights on her Instagram was against some dude, some other teenager, in this case a boy, and she ultimately lost that fight. So I'm going with Juna Koda because she's actually a fighter, not someone who is training in high school and fighting dudes on the side. Next, we have Yushi versus Asataro. All right, this one might actually be pretty competitive here. It is a rematch as their first fight was a draw. I'm going with Asataro. Pretty good career thus far. Won in way better promotions, such as Rise, Deep, RIZIN for kickboxing, as well as NJKF. He's also fought in Knockout during the Rebels series. And I know some of you are probably chuckling right now, especially our boy Andrew from the We Are RIZIN podcast. Those aren't high-level kickboxing leagues at all because his cup of coffee in Rise was many, many years ago. But let's be honest, Yushi has also fought in Deep Kick, has had 1 cup of coffee in Rise, and every other promotion in which he's had success in, I've never heard of before. Crested Serpent Eagle Series Final. Sick name, don't get me wrong. Cheer Series Final. I'd have a beer with you watching those fights. NKB Kickoff Series. I don't know what any of these things are. And I looked up some of the competition in which he fought and don't know who they are. So I'm going with Asataro on this one. Former Deep title challengers and only lost or drew against way better competition than Yushi has ever beaten or faced, in my opinion. And finally, this one's like, this honestly could have just been on the main card. Alas, we have 1 MMA fight on the prelims. We have Soru Hamaguchi up against Haruto Tsunada. Both of these guys prospects. I think that a lot of people in RIZIN in particular are more high on Tsunada. 3-0 as a pro, 24 years of age. 4-1 no contest in his last 5 fights, and that was in his last Deep fight. He has 3 finishes as a pro, a knockout in his last win, and then 2 first-round rear naked chokes. He's actually never seen the 2nd or 3rd round as a pro. He lost a unanimous decision in his first amateur fight. 1 rear naked choke in the first round, and then has never seen the 2nd round since. Soru Hamaguchi, 6-4 as a pro, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, 23 years of age. A lot more of a reckless fighter and fun to watch. Like his resume is kind of all over the place here already. 2 KO TKOs, been knocked out once, 1 submission loss, 3 decision wins, 2 decision losses, 6-4 in Deep. Knocked out a pretty good 3-0. You know, someone that Deep would consider a prospect coming in. Before then, lost to a veteran that he probably should have beaten. Before then, knocked out, again, a veteran that he was supposed to beat. Fought some pretty good guys in Deep. He's fought some pretty good guys in Deep and has beaten the guys, for the most part, that he needed to beat other than Matsuzawa. But hey, sick knockout. And sometimes you just get caught. Sometimes you just get caught. I'm going with Tsunada in this one. Look, Hamaguchi has fought a lot of vets. He's a dog, unpolished, but pressures and looks to blitz and brawl. And if he is the underdog in this one, perhaps he's your pick if you watch Numbers Not Fights. As I pointed out, Tsunade, all finishes round 1. Both of them deep guys, so it's funny. This could be like a top fight in deep, and we might even see it again in deep. All over the place record for Hamaguchi. Tsunade, though, has a good chin, solid power, and more polished despite the lack of experience compared to Hamaguchi. So I'm going Tsunade on this one. All right, now that we're through the prelims, let's get to the first fight on the main card. We have Kouki Nakagawa up against the American Jake Wilkins, the outlaw Jake Wilkins. Jake Wilkins was a 155er, was a lightweight. He's moving down to 145. When we see Americans just try to make weight in general in Japan, it usually doesn't work out well. Let's see if he can be the exception moving down in weight. He's 4-3 as a pro, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, 33 years of age. Originally trained out of Crazy B. Never been knocked out, 2 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 1 decisions. 4-3 in Fighting Nexus, and he's the Fighting Nexus champion, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have a championship versus championship bout in the first fight on the main card here. We have Gladiator champion, which we'll get to in a sec, versus the Fighting Nexus champions. Both leagues not super high level, but still he beat a 3-1 guy to win that belt. Hyun Seok Sung is a pretty good fighter, no shame in that. Probably should have gotten the win against Kishino, and he's fought his entire professional career in Fighting Nexus. His opponent, Nakagawa, 12-6 as a pro, 3-2 in his last 5 fights on a 2-fight win streak, and he's the Gladiator champ. Ironically enough, repping the USA. Boxers there. 0 knockouts, has been knocked out once, 3 submissions, has never been submitted, 9 decisions, 5 decision losses. He's 1-0 in RIZIN, 8-5-1 in Gladiator, where he just won the belt against a 15-9 guy, before then beat a 3-2 guy via guillotine choke in the first round. Lost a split decision to a 10-3 guy in Gladiator, before then beat a prospect via split decision, and honestly has not lost to a ton of bad opponents. Like, he's only lost to top prospects, 9-2, 8-2, Endo in 2021, at the time still a little gas left in the tank, and went on a 7-fight win streak with 1 no contest in there, beating a ton of good competition during that run. He also went 3-1 as an amateur, all fighting opponents other than the first guy he fought, who have had 3 or more fights under their belt. Talent-wise, I mean, both leagues are probably the same. I think Nakagawa is a little bit of the smarter fighter. He's got a lot of good defense. He's hard to finish. Keeps distance well, does not brawl, nor is he really explosive. Whereas the Outlaw, explosive, has a judo background, finishes all the guys that he's beaten, but not high-level opponents. I just think Nakagawa's too hard to finish, so I think he will win a decision. Lil Ren, Joe Hiramoto against Seiya Ameyama. Seiya Ameyama, 6-3 as a pro, 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 23 years of age. 6 KO TKOs, 0 submissions, 0 decisions. He's knocked out every single person he has beaten. He's lost twice via knockout, and he's lost once via submission. No decisions. That's what we love to see.
That shit beautiful than a motherfucker.
0-1 in RIZIN, 6-2-1 in Deep. Knocked out his last opponent in the first round. He's been knocking out a lot of his opponents in the first round. He actually, all of his finishes have been in the first round. So not only does he have 6 knockouts in 6 wins, but also all in the first round, dating back to his first ever fight as an amateur against Joe Hiramoto. Joe Hiramoto wants revenge, ladies and gentlemen. 2-2 as a pro in mixed martial arts, and just unlike his brother, doesn't have that tenacity, isn't mean, doesn't have knockout power. Hell, Ren doesn't really even have knockout power. And at the MMA level, being a kickboxing crossover himself, obviously not coming from as high of a level as Ren came from, He's only a measly 2-2 as a pro, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. 22 years of age, 2-1 in RIZIN. Lost a split decision to Tomizawa, but like, man, it's freaking Tomizawa. Beat a guy making his debut. Lost to a 0-1 guy via armbar. Beat a 3-1 guy in his first fight. Now, it was Yushi Sakura, so not like he had a ton of high-level MMA experience anyways. And then as an amateur in Gladiator, got knocked out in the first round, TKO'd in the first round by Ameyama. I just think overall, Hiramoto's not an MMA fighter. He's a better kickboxer, shows heart, and he's getting better in mixed martial arts. But just like his brother, it's not the sport for him. It's not his best martial art, competitive martial arts sport from what I've seen thus far. However, he does have the name value. Ameyama, way more experienced despite being pretty much the same age, and despite facing Hiramoto as an amateur, he's gotten so many more higher level and just more fights under his belt since their first meeting. Solid regional run, put in way more work and fought so many better guys. All wins are all finishes. Better power, better grappling. And I mean, shoot, man, you put Ren Hiramoto in there against Seiya Ameyama, and I don't even know who to pick, let alone Joe Hiramoto, okay? We're going with Seiya Ameyama. Jolly Ryoma Shishimoto up against Kenshin Kodama. Kenshin Kodama is 24 years of age, making his mixed martial arts debut. That is right, he is a kickboxing crossover who fought under the K1 banner in Crush pretty much his entire kickboxing career. Mostly decisions as well, with just a small handful of KO TKOs mixed in there. Still relatively young at 24 years of age, going up against Jolly, who is 3-0 in pro MMA, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Won his last fight via armbar, quick armbar against my boy Catfish Ashizawa. Before then, he beat a 0-2 guy via Dr. Stoppage at Gladiator and got a knockout in his pro debut against a 0-3-1 guy, but also knocked him out early in the first round. As an amateur, he went 2-1. He lost a decision to a 3-1 guy, beat 2 1-0 guys via stoppage in the first round and decision. That was back in 2017, which is actually crazy. He fought as an amateur in 2017, became a pro in 2018, had 2 good wins, and then didn't fight till 2025, where he came back, beat Ashizawa, and is here to fight Kodama. Why is this matchup even a thing, you might ask? Well, Kodama, much like a lot of K1 and Crush guys, are seeking higher payment. And a lot of them are willing to jump over to mixed martial arts, fight in big leagues like RIZIN if it means they're going to get paid for their services, because Kodama having a tough time even getting a fight in Crush, let alone K1. So Kodama, pretty much a striker. I don't think he has any grappling at all. Apparently, there's some rumors that he's been secretly training MMA for a year or 2. I guess we'll find out. Secretly training takedown defense and wrestling. I guess we'll find out, because Shishimoto at least has the basics down enough to be a pro fighter. Shishimoto has 3 finishes in his 3 pro fights. What I love is they're all unique finishes. Decent striker, but has just way more grappling. Again, we saw it against Catfish, but he's got way more grappling. I imagine if this goes to the ground, or if Kodama overswings and Shishimoto can get a nice takedown on him, that we're going to see some ground and pound as Shishimoto either mounts him or postures up in half guard, or maybe does work in side controls. You can actually do that in a real MMA league with the grounded knees, or just goes for his back and tries to find the neck. Regardless, we're going Jolly on this one. Daiki Lightyear Tsubota against King Genji Umeno. That is right, we got 2 kings fighting this weekend. Umeno is 2-0 as a pro in mixed martial arts. He's another kickboxing crossover, but actually in his last 2, his only 2, pro MMA fights, but his last fight in particular did show some strides in grappling, takedown defense, actually put the martial arts together, mixed them in his last fight. He is 37 years of age, certified Unk 2-0 in RIZIN, beat Ashizawa, and beat Kawabe, so not the highest level competition, but at least Ashizawa does have a few MMA fights under his belt, even though he can't grapple at all. Fought a little kickboxing in RIZIN before transitioning to mixed martial arts. Fought in the knockout series that we love in the small gloves, a Muay Thai, the superior rule set, unlimited rules Muay Thai. He was winning regional Muay Thai titles, not just kickboxing, but Muay Thai titles before he retired. He also fought in Rise for many, many years, a Rebels, and early knockout as well, and even dabbled in the K1 Grand Prix back in 2012. Daiki, Tsubota, 12, 13, and 3. Also certified Unk at 37 years of age on a 2-fight losing streak. He did fight 3 months ago and got knocked the hell out. He's 2-3 in his last 5 on a 2-fight losing streak. Let's see if Unk can get back to 500 in this one. 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, 4 decisions. He has been knocked out 5 times, and he's been submitted 3 times, ladies and gentlemen. 1-1 in RIZIN, 9-10-3 in Shuto. Bro doesn't even have a 500 record in Shuto. And 2-1 in Valotudo, Japan. He did fight for the Shuto title in his last fight against Kawakita, and he got knocked out in the second round. Before then, got ground and pounded in the first round against a 7-0 guy, an actual prospect. He did beat Shohei Noze via split decision. Still a really good win back in 2024 to win the Shuto title. And it's just one of those things, like, he'll have a good fight. Like, he lost to Hokumura, which is absolutely insane. Kintaro. You can't lose to Kintaro. Kintaro's at this stage of Kintaro's career. But then beat, like, a veteran in RIZIN and a run of really good opponents in Shuto as well. 4-2, 10-4, 13-9, and 5-2. Like, he's a guy who has all the tools. Like, he can submit you, he can knock you out, he can go to a decision and do enough to win. There's not really a rhyme or reason with him, and especially in his later years, he just doesn't have the chin durability that he once had to take some of these fighters who were clearly at a higher skill level than him the distance. Now, I would say, I guess this is a good matchup because it's not like Umeno's going to be a threat, or shouldn't be too much of a threat on the ground. If anything, if it goes to the ground, Tsubota should be able to finish Umeno or at least score enough to get a decision. It's all about if he gets there. Can Umeno knock him out before he takes this to the ground? I would be shocked if Lightyear has a grappling match with this guy, which is why I'm going against the grain and I'm picking Lightyear. Again, Umeno, despite having some knockouts in his kickboxing career, he's not known for his power. He's known for his fight IQ, and both his MMA fights were decisions. Also his speed and footwork, but not a knockout artist. Faster striking, but sloppy grappling, even though he's been able to actually employ it. It's not super clean, and it looked good against Ashizawa, okay? It looked good against Ashizawa. And don't even get me started on the clinch work in MMA. Lightyear is very chinny, can beat solid regional guys, even won the Shuto title against a grappling ace, no less. Unk should get this to the ground, Uncle Lightyear, and he should ground and pound him or submit him. Either or. If Umeno KOs or TKOs Lightyear by ground and pound, or honestly just knocks him out at all, he should retire. Especially if Umeno takes him to the ground or somehow wins the ground exchange, is able to reverse to a better position, or if he's the one who actually takes Lightyear to the ground and beats him there, then Lightyear, it's time to retire. It's time to retire. Because, put it this way, Umeno has better grappler than Kuzi, but not as good as Kubo. And Lightyear should be able to out-grapple all of those guys. So we're going Lightyear, but man, I'm going against the grain in this one. Tapology only has 8% picking him out of just shy of 300 at the time of this recording. It's not every day we get a friend of the channel who signs with my favorite promotion. Ryan Korean Thunder Cafaro takes on Koyomi Matsushima in arguably the people's main event. Koyomi Matsushima is 15-7 as a pro, and according to the We Are Rising podcast, is just doing everything he can to get into the UFC, and that now is beating a top North American in Ryan Cafaro. Matsushima overlooking some RIZIN fights as well, turning down RIZIN fights in the last calendar year, just hoping, praying for tap on the shoulder for either road to UFC or straight up UFC card. But you gotta get over the Korean Thunder from Philadelphia before that's ever gonna happen. 15-7, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, win one, lose one, win one type of fighter, 33 years of age. 9 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 5 decisions, 3-2 in 1 championship, 4-2 in Pancrase, and 3-0 in Shuto. In fairness to him, he's won in a bunch of high-level organizations out in Asia. He even fought in the Custom Rules Muay Thai Unlimited fight in knockout in his last bout. He was supposed to fight Vugar Karimov back in 2025. That fell through, so since his last high-level MMA fight, it's been a couple years. He last fought in Gladiator against a 5-2 guy in July of 2024. Again, making his RIZIN debut because he's kind of overlooked RIZIN, thinking, psh, I've done enough to get to the Ultimate Fighting Championship here. Fought in Shuto early in his career, won the Shuto title. Mind you, was against way lower competition. Came over to Pancrase, had a very good career in Pancrase, getting wins over a young Ushiku, Kasuya, Gafarov, in which he faced in 1 championship upon beating Kobayashi, but it was an illegal knee in Pancrase. It would have been legal if he was in RIZIN. But then goes over to 1 championship, beats Kwanwon Il and Murat Gafarov to win the title shot, doesn't get the title, gets another win against a 10-3 guy in 1, loses to Gary Tonin, but whatever, and has fought twice in road to UFC, desperately trying to get back there, or just the big show where he went 1-1, split decision in his win, split decision in his loss to Yiza. Then went over to Deep in 2023 and lost to Doubtbeck after his cup of coffee in Deep in a random promotion called Top Brights 01, where he got knocked out in the first round. Then got a knockout in Gladiator. And then in the last, well, in 2025, because he hasn't fought in 2026, has just been fighting those unlimited Muay Thai rules fights in knockout. Desperately waiting for that UFC call. It wasn't coming, so he was quoted saying, I need the money, I need the fight, even if my dreams are the UFC. Looking at his opponent, Ryan Cafaro, who did everything he needed to do as a regional fighter. Also, not only a very good North American pro MMA fighter, but one of the best coaches that we've seen kind of live in the shadows for a while, and a lot of his stories are starting to be unearthed now. If you guys listened to my podcast with him last year, link is in the description of this preview and predictions video / podcast. You can check it out. He talks about a lot of the fighters that he's coached. He's talked about it on Aniki's interview with him as well on Aniki MMA, so go check that out. He's coached some of the best in one of the best times for the UFC, both women's and men, across all weight classes, and specializes in mimicking his opponent and putting together the game plan to beat him, which is just, if you're an MMA nerd, is so fucking cool. Anyways, Ryan Cafaro, 14-6 as a pro, 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights, and he's the current, well, he was the current Cage Fury FC champion. 4 KO TKOs, 7 submissions, 3 decisions, 9-2 in Cage Fury FC, 2-1 in Art of War cage fighting, and 0-1 in Bellator. He won the belt in Art of a War cage fighting before coming over to Cage Fury FC, where he beat Ricardo Fuentes in my opinion, the greatest knockout in MMA history. Ryan Cafaro took a head kick, shin to the face, didn't even flinch, smirked, and then knocked down Fuentes and got the ground and pound finish. He then defended his title against a 7-0 prospect and then beat a very tough Justin Patton and knocked him out in the first round. The UFC wasn't interested then. I don't think they're going to be, but whatever. Ryan Cafaro, the Korean Thunder is going to a real MMA organization now. He's fought everywhere as well. King of the Cage, Maverick MMA, Matrix fights. And his first ever pro fight was actually in Bellator as an amateur, went 7-3. Koyomi, like I said, some side quests and knockout. Their unlimited rules are kind of like the karate combat, where you can follow your opponent to the ground, but in this case, you can actually land some superior rules like grounded knees and soccer kicks. A lot of MMA experience, 15-7 as a pro against a lot of good guys in a lot of good leagues in Asia. As mentioned, very hungry to join the UFC full-time or even road to UFC at this point, I imagine, again. His recent losses have not been to bad opponents either. One champion, elite grappler, top prospect from China. Not a hard bar, though. And Doubtbeck, an intense and explosive striker. Super tough as well. Coming off a big KO win against a young regional talent, he has the power, but he has lost to really good MMA strikers before and has been knocked out 4 times. But the last time he got knocked out was over 2 years ago, and that was by Doubtbeck. I'm going with Ryan Cafaro in this one. No bias whatsoever. Honestly, I was coming into this one hoping that my bias wouldn't seep in, and upon studying and based on all the fights that I've seen of Ryan Cafaro, I am confident that he should win this one. Like I said, the most badass KO in MMA history. He's got a good chin. He's hard to finish. He's only been submitted once, and he's only been knocked out once in his pro MMA career. Insane chin, amazing cardio, decent hands. Like, I wouldn't say it's his bread and butter, but Ryan Cafaro's just well-rounded overall. Sometimes it'll take a few to give them going into the pocket, but he trusts his chin, and even though he's 36 years of age, he's spent more time training than actually putting on a lot of fight miles for a guy who is 36 years of age in pro mixed martial arts. Trains many UFC fighters, UFC vets. Like I said, specializes in imitating opponents for those he trains in camps, which is just such a cool skill to have. It shows there's a lot of fight IQ there. Strong wrestling, attacks on the ground, good boxing, insane promotion as well. Everybody in Japan, We Are Rising podcast, Aniki MMA, everyone in the We Are Rising Discord are all just amazed that Ryan Cafaro has done more since signing the contract to promote this fight and become the hometown fighter in the eyes of the Japanese, as the foreigner, as the American coming in. And even fight week, even weight cut day, he's still connecting with the fans and posting really good content, interactive content, fun content, and connecting with the fans. Even, I think, has some Japanese run like social media now, so that he can really further connect with the fans, which is super cool. We're going with Ryan, Korean Thunder, Cafaro, baby. Here to give Shadulaev his only test in RIZIN, since Doubtbeck doesn't want to fight him. Next, we have Tatsuya Saika against Sho Patrick Usami, who's far from a savage these days. Sho Patrick Usami, 8-5-0 as a pro, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Lost his last fight to Mini Sakuraba. 6 KO TKOs, he's never been knocked out. 0 submissions. He's been submitted twice, and 2 decisions. He's lost 3 via decision. His brother's a kickboxer, and honestly, I would way rather watch his brother fight anytime in K1 over Sho Patrick Usami. Whatever he showed early in his career, crushing cans and knocking out guys who had no takedown threat, he looked pretty good in, but lately, man, I mean, Sakuraba doesn't even have much MMA experience, and he easily knee-barred him. He beat C1 Kim, whatever. Lost to Nishikawa, lost to Yachi. Beat Kazuki Tokudome, which, hey, he knocked him out. He was a vet. He had a lot of fights under his belt. Fair enough. And he beat Bay Noah, who at the time was 1-2. And I know, Jay Wolf, that he is your LFA champion, but he will never be LFA champion, and he is not LFA champion. Overall, he has some wins. Shinji, Sasaki, Tokudome, and sure, C1 Kim, I guess, in Korea. But other than that, in his first 4 fights, he fought a guy making his debut, 1-2 guy, 1-0, and Sugawara was 6-8 and just didn't have a chin at that point. Anyways, lost his first fight before he even came into RIZIN against a guy who was 13-6. He was supposed to fight Anshul Jubilee, actually, at Road to UFC. That didn't work out, and alas, his RIZIN career began. He's a good striker who I haven't really seen pull the trigger lately and just be that savage that he was earlier in his career, that his brother certainly can be in some of his wars. So this is a big fight for the 26-year-old. He's going up against certified Unk Saika, who is 35, 14-7-0, been fighting many years in mixed martial arts. He probably could employ grappling and beat Usami, I don't want to say easily, but that is probably the easiest path to victory. But Tatsuya Saika is your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. He does not care. He runs at his opponent, pressure, brawl. Somebody's going to sleep. Somebody's going to sleep, or it's a freaking war, man. 13 knockouts, ladies and gentlemen, in his 14 victories. He has a 1 submission victory. He's been knocked out 5 times. I mean, when you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And he has 2 submission losses. There's no way Patrick Usami submits this guy. 1-3 in RIZIN, 9-2 in Pancrase, and 4-1 in Fighting Nexus. 3-time king of Pancrase, and he defended the title only once in his 3rd run with it. Came over to RIZIN in November of 20. Came back over to RIZIN in November 2025. Lost to a solid prospect. Got choked out in the first round against Nurkan Zumagadze. Knocked out Beino with the head kick. In March, had a fight in Pancrase where he was looking good in the first round against Rafael Barboza, but got a cut on his eyelid just 2 months ago. So keep that in mind, guys. RIZIN doesn't like their cuts. You'd think that that's just enough time to heal, but it was a nasty cut, and it stopped the fight. A lot of first round knockouts, man. A lot of wars. He's such a fun fighter. Is he getting a little chinny? Yes. Is that a little bit concerning against Sho Patrick Usami? Pfft, the ghost of him, maybe. Not this version. So I'm going with Saika, man. I'm going with Saika. More skilled striker, more well-rounded. Even though some of his other MMA tools outside of his striking are sloppy, they're still there, where Sho Patrick Usami just doesn't have them. Sho Patrick Usami has power, that's it. He's been slowing down in the 3rd round of his recent fights. He definitely could get the KO, but I truly believe that is his only path to victory. But if he doesn't land or do enough damage early, he could lose on the feet or on the ground. Saika is a KO artist with a lot of wars. Good ground and pound, but usually knocks guys to the ground, then gets in top position and will finish them there if he does win via TKO like that. Doesn't have the best nor cleanest takedowns. He, like I said, beat J Wolf's favorite fighter, knocked him the fuck out with a beautiful head kick. In the battle of the strikers, I still think Saika is the better fighter overall, the better striker overall, doesn't just rely on his power. It's not even like Usami relies on his kickboxing training anymore either. Pretty stationary, not super quick, really relies on just if you enter, him countering or moving forward with the 1-2 and landing that big follow-up shot. The bad cut 2 months ago is scary, especially if they clinch up early and Sho Patrick Usami lands something in the pocket or an elbow. I'm sure he has this information as well, since we do. So it'll be interesting to see if he throws more elbows in this one, if he really tries to attack that cut that was obtained just a couple months ago on Saika. Kato Oyama, aka Kate Lotus, up against Katie Perez. Katie Perez is 7-10 as a pro, 32 years of age. Last fought just a couple months ago, where she won via submission up against a 4-4 gal. She is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Rode back to 500, am I right? 6 submissions, never been submitted. 1 knockout, been knocked out 3 times. Has never won a decision, so she finishes every single fight that she wins. She has 7 decision losses. She went 0-1 in Invicta and 2-5 in Combate Global. She's fought some pretty good girls throughout her MMA career, but realistically has beat nobody of note. She's fought a lot of good girls. She's lost to a lot of good girls. She hasn't beat anybody of note. pure grappler, pure jiu-jitsu artist. So her game plan will be to take Kate Lotus to the ground and try to submit her. This will be a test for Kate Lotus's takedown defense, I suppose, but she's gotten a lot better in the last 3 years. She's 9-8 as a pro, road back to 500 success. Take notes, Katie Perez. Take notes. She is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Lost her last fight to Oshima. No shame in that. I mean, Oshima actually just out-grappled her. And I rate Oshima a little bit higher than Katie Perez. Let's be perfectly honest. Not even a little. I rate Oshima a lot higher than Katie Perez. 2 KO TKOs, 2 submissions, 5 decisions for Kate Lotus. She's been knocked out once and submitted once. 2-2 in RIZIN, 6-5 in Deep Jewels. Before losing to Oshima, she was on a 4-fight win streak, beating some pretty good gals. At least 2 out of the 4 were pretty good. Lost to Reina in the second round due to a stoppage, but like held her own, and that just showed that there were still levels to this, and she got her reps after that. She had 3 fights in 2024. One of them was the Reina loss. Then she came back and dominated in her comeback fight in RIZIN. I'll say this, overall, Kate Lotus has not faced as many high-level opponents as Katie Perez. 28 years of age. Fought like just 2 months ago as well. She's just so much better of a striker that if she can keep this on the feet, she's going to beat up Katie Perez. So I'm going to go with Kate Lotus. She looked improved enough against Oshima to be able to beat the likes of a Katie Perez. Kate Lotus has some dog in her as well. Not that I think Katie Perez will have to drag that out in this fight. Everything is improved. Striking, takedown defense, decent scrambles. Got a TKO and a sub in her 4-fight win streak before losing to Oshima as well. Oshima's wrestling was too good, and I think Oshima would out-wrestle Perez. Let's be perfectly honest. Kate Lotus keeps it on the feet. She should be able to not only beat up Katie Perez badly, but probably find the finish as well. I cannot believe he is back, but when him and his cohorts have an opportunity to fight and rip it up at a RIZIN event at a fun fight show, Kintaro represents. We have Shinobu Ota against Yuto Hakamura. I cannot believe Kintaro A is back and B won his last fight, ladies and gentlemen. He is 16-15-2, 33 years of age, but honestly in fight years it feels like 44. 2-3 in his last 5 fights. 9 KO TKOs, but he's been knocked out 6 times. 3 submissions, he's been submitted 5 times, and 4 decisions, he's lost 4 decisions. He's been in RIZIN since 2020. He's gone 4-7 in the promotion, 4-3-1 in Pancrase, 5-1-1 in Deep, and 2-2 in Rising on a Fighting Championship. At RIZIN Landmark 12 in Kobe, he landed a heel hook against Kaiwen Li, a Chinese fighter who fought some good guys, mostly beat some bad guys, and fought like probably 7 or 8 times in 2022 and 2023 alone. Not quite that much, but yeah, it just a Chinese regional Wulin, Fang, and Kunlin, with all due respect, jobber. And he was able to get a heel hook against him. Primarily a guy who was primarily a striker coming out of the Chinese regional scene. Before then, he got knocked out by Ji Young Yang. He got knocked out by Akimoto. He did beat Daiki Tsubota, which again, I'm picked Tsubota to win on this card, so he's the anomaly. But before the Tsuba win, he was on a 4-fight losing streak, losing to some good opponents, but really showing that he is on the decline. And that started back in 2021, where he lost to Inoue, Motoya, Horiguchi. Again, murderer's row, don't get me wrong. Ishizuka split decision, beat Tsubota, and then just looked so bad against Akimoto, who again, hindsight, solid, unbelievable prospect. But Ji Young-yang was too much for him. And I think he just broke. And I don't blame him, man. Especially a long career. Fought for the Pancrase title back in 2019. Going on a pretty grueling 4-fight win streak, to get there. He's been fighting good opponents since early in his career. So by the time he, fought and lost in a championship fight for the Pancrase title against a 30-6 Rafael Silva, by the way, where he got submitted in the second round, comes over to RIZIN, goes 2-1, and then Inoue, Motoya, Horiguchi, Ishizuka, and only Horiguchi finished him. The rest were wars. The rest were tough fights. Some of them were beatdowns. Like, by the time he got to Akimoto, man, I said this on past episodes as well. I said it in the Ji Young-yang. And honestly, I said it in his last fight as well. I did not think a heel hook would occur in that one. But against Shinobu Ota, he ain't getting a heel hook against him. Shinobu Ota, we know this, a Olympic silver medalist in wrestling, 7-5 as a pro in mixed martial arts, was very injured last year. So he hasn't fought in a year. He hasn't fought since his loss to Danny Sabatello, K1 Sabatello. Before then, he lost to Uncle Motoya. He was on a 3-fight win streak before that, beating Ashizawa, whatever. Actually, he submitted Ashizawa in that one. The ref didn't see it. Ashizawa comes back to life, and then he elbows him in the face and knocks him out. That one was brutal. But beat the former champion Ishuku, and then beat a whatever Roger Blanquer. I've never been super high on Ota at all. Like, his wrestling's good. If there's a cage involved, he actually, it suits his game a lot more. He's got way more of a UFC/unified rules, caged MMA style than that of RIZIN, but he is upset with himself that he's not reached his goals yet. He wants to do better, and now that he's overcome injuries and had a good camp, Ota has said that he is just dialed for this one. So I am going to go with Shinobu Ota. Again, Kintaro likely only still in RIZIN, likely only still fighting because of the amount of tickets and eyes he brings to the RIZIN shows. Correction, his Yakuza cohorts. Last fight was good, but he beat a guy with absolutely zero submission defense. Zero. Like, Ota probably would have submitted him. Ota's a way better grappler/wrestler. And in one thing I do want to note, and shout out to the We Are RIZIN podcast because they reminded me of this. Kintaro is training at ATT. So another ATT guy. Ota is 0-3 against ATT guys right now. Can he break the curse against Kintaro? Likely lay in prey for 3 rounds unless Ota really wants to make a statement and either goes for the submission or just ground and pound. Sorry, not a back injury for Ota, knee and neck injury that put him out for a year. So we're going with Ota on this one. I haven't believed in Kintaro for almost 2 years. Despite Yunfeng Li having more fights than Ota, I barely trusted Kintaro then, and I certainly do not trust him now. Featured fight on the card, and honestly, next to the Cafaro fight, another people's main event, a fight that's in the running for the people's main event. Certainly better than the co-main event, Ryo Takagi against Kaiwen Li. Kaiwen Li is one of the best male Chinese fighters out there right now who's currently not exclusively signed to a major organization, going up against the young Ryo Takagi, who showed a lot of signs of development, but still leaving a few questions needing answered. You might recognize Kaiwen Li from his bouts on road to UFC. He's 16-7 as a pro, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a win, 9 KO/TKOs, 3 KO/TKO losses, 1 submission, and 6 decisions. He's a wild wrestling base, but is just a brawler, and he throws these crazy John Lineker type hooks over and over and over again in fights. And if he does get taken down, he does have the wrestling prowess to get back to his feet or get back to a dominant position. 9-3 in one championship, 3-2 in Road to UFC, and 1-2 in Chinese Kung Fu Championship. He just won the Longsan fight belt, whatever that is, against a 12-6-1 guy. He did lose to Kichiro Nakamura in his last Road to UFC run. He's been dabbling in between his Road to UFC fights in Wulin Fang, Happy Elephant, one championship, where he primarily developed and fought most of his career, going from CKF right to one championship, where he spent all his time fighting between 2014 and 2021. And he's fought some really good opponents. Literally, his only losses dating back to 2021 have been to Fabricio de Andrade, Yiza, and Kichiro Nakamura. All UFC and major organization level fighters. This is such a sick fight. Ryo Takagi, 10-3 as a pro. Also 4-1 in his last 5 fights. On a 2-fight win streak, though, he's never been knocked out. He has 7 knockouts, 1 submission loss, 2 decisions, 2 decision losses. 4-2 in RIZIN, coming out of a Pancrase where he went 6-1 in Pancrase. And it's crazy. If you look at his losses, his only 3 losses were to Akimoto, which Akimoto didn't finish him. It went the distance. 2 top prospects of Japan going at it, and Akimoto proved to be at a higher level. He also lost to Viktor Kolesnik, who he went the distance with back in 2023 in his RIZIN debut. What a freaking debut. And then he got submitted against Suguru Ni when Suguru Ni was going full beast mode in Pancrase. And this was back in 2022 when he was still getting his grappling reps in. So no shame in his losses, and same with his opponent. No shame in his last few losses. Since losing to Akimoto, he's won a decision and then a doctor stoppage against Shuya Kimura. That power that he possessed in Pancrase, though, because before he was signed to RIZIN, he only had 1 decision, and every other fight of his was a first round, or every other fight of his was a knockout. One of them, only one of them, being in the second round. 6 knockouts, one in the second round, all 5 others in the first round. Again, Kaiwen Li, easily the best Chinese RIZIN fighter, possibly the best Chinese fighter RIZIN has brought in ever. Again, sometimes when he sees red, reminds me of John Lineker, the way he throws those hooks. Doesn't aggressively grapple, but as I mentioned, with that wrestling base, his scrambles are really good, and he's got enough skill to get out of anything I think Takagi will put on him in the grappling department. But I think this is going to primarily stay on the feet, and if anyone has to take this to the ground, Kaiwen Li at least has the tools to do so, but he loves to brawl, so I think this one is just going to be a striker's delight. I think it's going to be straight chaos. That's what Kaiwen Li likes. He looks for the finish. He likes to create chaos, and it's usually only on the feet. Takagi's a really good prospect, though. Still, very good striking, sound wrestling, and wrestling defense. Way better defense now than when he fought Ni. Showed his grappling improvements against Kolesnik. I'm still not convinced that power from Pancrase has translated over to RIZIN against better competition, but if he can knock out Kaiwen Li, then okay. My biggest question is answered. Kichiro Nakamura hits insanely hard as well, though. Maybe even harder than Takagi, so it's going to be interesting to see how Kaiwen Li takes some of Ryo's shots. Kaiwen Li coming in as the underdog, I heard, as well. What a fun underdog pick that will be. Overall, I still think it's more of a test for Takagi, because I think Kaiwen Li has proven to be at a higher level already, given a lot of the guys that he's fought, even some of the guys who he's lost to, still putting on exciting competitive fights in those matches. This is a show us you're the real deal type fight for Takagi. And honestly, barring a war where he loses a decision, but each of them show amazing moments, and just Kaiwen Li did just that much more to sneak out a round, his stock might actually fall if Kaiwen Li beats him dominantly. His counter-striking, though, is incredible, and that's why I'm picking him to win, because I think Kaiwen Li will land some good shots early. We'll get a little too comfortable in the chaos. And Takagi, with his step back shots, I think he'll land that perfect one to at least knock down Kaiwen Li, and then we'll see where the fight goes after that. But the counter shots, even if he doesn't finish him with one, I think those are going to be key for Takagi. Co-main event of the evening. We're just gonna fire through this one because honestly it doesn't matter. It was put together to sell tickets. Kuzi's not taking this seriously. Ren's not taking this seriously. We have not even a kickboxing fight, not even an MMA fight, and not even a goddamn traditional boxing fight. We have a 3-minute round, no kicks, no elbows, pretty much boxing rules with the big gloves, a showcase sparring exhibition fight. Let's be perfectly honest. Ren Hiramoto against Koji Tanaka. Koji Tanaka apparently not doing MMA anymore, even though he was focusing on MMA after a long career of kickboxing. He's been living the life outside of the cage, boozing it up, crashing cars. Is he still going to fight in RIZIN? Are they still going to squeeze the Kuzi name for all that it's worth for the next couple of years? Likely. 1-1 in mixed martial arts. Long, decorated kickboxing career, ladies and gentlemen. Kuzi, though, very much a point fighter as far as his kickboxing style goes. Very good footwork, a lot of speed, but not a lot of knockouts, not a lot of finishes in his long kickboxing career, where he won the Heat Championship back in the day, fought in Crush, fought in K-Festa, fought in various K1 World Grand Prix, and even came over to RIZIN to fight a ton of kickboxing fights before moving over to mixed martial arts, where he famously soccer kicked Kota Mira in the face in his debut. Since then, he lost to Ashizawa in a rematch in MMA, which was one of the greatest MMA just brawls I've ever seen. He had a draw against Buakao at the Japan Martial Arts Expo. He had a weird no contest boxing match against Cena. And then he had a exhibition match against Hiro Tokoro back in September. So not really serious. Ren Hiramoto. We have not seen Ren fight in mixed martial arts since he won the Last Man Standing belt. He's 4-3 in MMA, the former kickboxing crossover. Doesn't really have a lot of knockout power either, unless he's on the roids. 1 KO TKO, 3 decisions, 0 submission victories or losses. 4-3 in RIZIN. He beat Mikuru Asakura back at Super RIZIN 3 in July of 2024. We haven't really heard from him since. Beat Yamen before that. Lost to Saito, split decision before that. Both of those were in 2023. Had an exhibition boxing match against Umeno, and that was in 22. And that's basically 2022 and 2023 are when he was active. We haven't heard from him. We haven't seen him in a while, and I can't imagine that this is going to be the stage in which he re-announces himself to the RIZIN fans. I don't know why you'd want to re-announce yourself, make your comeback in a weird fight like this. RIZIN clearly threw them the bag to sell more tickets, and yet here we are. So trash co-main, stupid fight. Neither of them really have power. I think it's going to be 12-ounce gloves. I hope it's 10-ounce, but 12-ounce gloves I heard? Please be 10. Please be 10. Both of them just fighting for the payday. Not really anything else. Kuzi just fighting exhibition fights. He's basically just showing up to run a glorified seminar at this point. Neither really prepared. This was put together last minute. Neither are really going in hungrier than the other. If Ren treats this more like a sparring match than Kuzi, I honestly hope Kuzi just takes a drag off the Siggy in the corner, puts it out, just knocks him out. It just goes ham. Purely sell tickets, but I guess let's hope Ren stays injury-free. If you're the masses, I kind of want to see Kuzi just starch him in this for fun, but I know RIZIN needs Ren to stay healthy, which is probably why they called up Kuzi, who's probably a few Sapporos in. Let's be honest. Hell, they're going to give him another case just for showing up. Ren to win this exhibition fight. Who gives a shit? Let's get to the main event. Main event of the card. We have a lightweight championship on the line. The new lightweight champion, Ilkhom Nazimov, will be defending for the first time, coming off that insane win over Satoshi in a fight where he wasn't even supposed to be fighting Satoshi. He was supposed to be fighting freaking Bay Noah, dude. J-Wolf, you are so lucky. Your boy would have been absolutely destroyed. Anyways, we got Luiz Gustavo against Nazimov here. Gustavo, only one win, but that's RIZIN for you. 15-4 as a pro, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. 8 KO TKO, 5 submission, 2 decision. He's been knocked out twice, and that's it. So he is hard to finish. Now, I know a lot of other RIZIN podcasts and those covering RIZIN are like, oh, he's chinny. And like, yeah, he gets knocked down against hard-hitting hitters, against hard-hitting strikers. So there is 100% a possibility where he gets knocked down. Hell, if Nazimov lands one of his wild knees or elbows, there's a big chance that he gets just knocked the fuck out. But like, I don't think he's as chinny as you guys are making him out to be. 7-4 in RIZIN. I'm going to eat my words on that one, aren't I? 3-0 in katana fights. This is the thing. Like, he beats Sakuraba to now get a title shot again. This feels forced because they needed a title shot, or they needed a title fight on this numbered card, where this just, you could have just put Gustavo up against somebody else. But maybe there wasn't anybody else, and hey, this is a good fight at the end of the day on paper. Just a win, and then a title shot again after just having one against Satoshi back in September of 2024. Then you lose to Nomura, a prospect. And then, yeah, you beat Sakuraba, but he's 2-1, and we all knew the way it was going to end, bro. We all knew it was going to end like that. Maybe he's bled for RIZIN for a long time, and they're like, all right, we're giving you this opportunity because we didn't have one for anybody else, and we just really need some names and a title fight on this card. So he's smiling regardless. It is a little suspect. If I wasn't a fan of Gustavo, I'd be a lot more critical on this, but bias personified in this video. Let's go, baby. His last 2 losses were to the prospect Shunta Nomura, hard-hitting prospect, and then Satoshi, who got him out in the first round. I did not think it was going to be this quick. Satoshi knocking him down with some quick ground and pound. It was over. This fight, Nomura was definitely winning the fight, but Gustavo definitely had his moments. I think the best Gustavo we've ever seen, or one of the best Gustavos we've ever seen, was against Hori. I don't even think he looked that good against Takeda, or maybe it was Takeda's best fight ever. He looked awesome against Ohara, obviously against Yachi, beating them both up. Yachi just couldn't beat him, poor guy. And his only losses before the Satoshi one were to Patricky Pitbull, who still had a little gas left in the tank, and a prime Mikuru Asakura. Mikuru Asakura was his first ever loss, and he was on a hell of a win streak, beating Yachi before that, a 6-2, 6-0, 9-5, and then just a bunch of random guys on the Brazilian and Japanese regional scene. I love the way Gustavo fights. He is a black belt, but he never uses his jiu-jitsu. So he is more comfortable on the ground than people think. He is perfectly fine with you working in his guard. Now, I doubt he'd be fine with someone as tall and lanky as Nazimov working in his guard. But for the most part, Luiz Gustavo just loves to fight Vanderlei Silva style, baby. Nazimov 13-3 as a pro, and let me tell you, I wasn't completely sold on him going into the Bay Noah fight / Satoshi fight. I was like, I want to see him against someone better than freaking Bay Noah, because poor Bay Noah was there to be slaughtered. And little did I know, my request would be taken seriously. And he not only got to fight for the belt against one of the best lightweights outside the UFC, and one of the longest reigning, nearly unstoppable looking lightweights in a RIZIN, got absolutely murked. Probably the worst knockout of Satoshi's career, and probably the worst knockout he'll ever get in his career, was to Nazimov. 7 KO TKOs, 3 submissions, 3 decisions, 4-0 in RIZIN, 3-1 in World Combat Self-Defense Association. Before then, he absolutely destroyed my boy Suguru Ni, who I just want to say, yeah, I know there was only 3 minutes of that fight, but Suguru Ni had some moments in that fight and actually tagged Nazimov with a few shots, all right? Just saying. But he actually had a very, very tough road to the title, and Bay Noah would have been his easiest matchup in RIZIN by a freaking long shot. It's not even close. Came in, Juarez Dea, Sora Yamamoto, Suguru Ni. He probably would have gotten a title shot off of Bay Noah anyways, but like, let's be honest, the Suguru Ni front kick, unbelievable knockout. Sora Yamamoto murked him. Juarez Dea going 3 rounds with him was actually pretty impressive. He's also fought in UAE Warriors, Eagle FC, not M1 championship, but N1 championship, where he dominated in all of those leagues. The only loss he had early in his career was some random dude who's now 8-6. Yuri Vichakov. He got rear naked choked in the first round. So he is known more for his distance striking than his grappling, but he's from Uzbekistan, trains with a lot of good grapplers. This one is going to be Luiz Gustavo trying to pierce the range of Nazimov, get into the pocket and just beat him up savage style. Whereas Nazimov's going to try to pick him apart on the outside and try to catch him with some elbows or knees. I think Luiz Gustavo has to avoid Nazimov's clinch at all cost. One thing for Nazimov that he might be overlooking is the ground game of Gustavo, whether they get tangled up in the clinch and Gustavo maybe throws a fast one and like trips him. And just, I don't think Gustavo's going to go for submissions and play jiu-jitsu, but I think he could take his opportunities and follow him to the ground if he cannot figure out his range, if he cannot land big strikes in the pocket. Sure as hell won't want to hang out in the clinch of Nazimov. So I think, hey, up against the cage, try to sweep him, try to scramble, take this to the ground, and just go savage ground and pound. As Luiz Gustavo will be giving up some size to Nazimov, as everybody who Nazimov fights gives up size against him. He's 5'11", just shy of 6 feet tall. But this is going to be a fun one. This is truly like a brawler versus technical striker. So I can always, and both of them have a ton of experience. Both of them are, Nazimov 31, Luiz Gustavo 29. Definitely probably 2 years older than him in fight years, given the type of fights that he has had. But not even Satoshi can make me pick against my boy Luiz Gustavo. Let's fucking go. 7% of you on Tapology? Bro, I am part of that 7%. Let's go. It was a sham. It was a sham. He was supposed to beat Bay Noah. He was supposed to beat Bay Noah. Where's Noah? Where's Noah? Luiz Gustavo, baby, the killer's gonna fucking get that belt. He's gonna get that belt finally. I fucking hate this. Why is this a title fight? I wrote in my notes, fluke win after his opponent pulled out. It wasn't a fluke win. It was a beautiful knee by Nazimov. But Luiz Gustavo. It's just so funny that this fight was put together where Nazimov, short notice, title fight, wins the title against Gustavo, who got a win over Sakuraba's son. I wrote, bitch, please, in my notes. Let's hope that there's some EPO in that secret juice of Luiz Gustavo. Both of them strikers, like I said. Nazimov, outside Muay Thai type of style. Elbows in his entries. Very good distance control, and his straight punches are chef's kiss, whereas Luiz Gustavo, way more of a brawler. Decent defense on the ground, too. And I actually reached out to some jiu-jitsu guys that I know who cover and watch a lot of RIZIN, who said, no, it's actually pretty good. Overall, Gustavo's resume is more impressive to me. If he does not get caught, he could outpace and out-damage Nazimov. Nazimov hasn't gone to too many decisions. Only 3 decisions in every single one of his fights, and he usually finishes the fight in the first round. Only twice has he gone to the second round in 10 finishes. The Nomura fight was close. It'll be interesting to see who elects to bring in the grappling? Who decides to mix the martial arts first? As this is going to start just all action on the feet. I'm going Gustavo, baby. It's time to get that belt. I'm in the minority, but it's time to get that belt. Smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you on The Fight Companion live on this channel Saturday night / Sunday morning.
Did you see the RIZIN results? No, I did not see the RIZIN results, no. I'm waiting for City Life Project to get back to me and inform me on everything that's went down.